India stands at a pivotal moment in its energy journey, where the choices made today will shape the nation's future for decades to come. The country is aiming to double its non-fossil fuel capacity to an impressive 500 gigawatts, a goal that would place India among the world's renewable energy leaders. This bold target is not just a number, it's actively reshaping the nation's power landscape, fueling economic growth, and reinforcing India's commitments to global climate action. Renewable energy, especially solar and wind, now sits at the heart of this vision, leveraging India's abundant sunshine, vast open spaces, and long, breezy coastlines to generate clean power. The government's ambitious push has led to a rapid expansion of solar parks and wind farms, driven by the urgent need to power a booming economy, create jobs, and reduce dependence on polluting coal. Achieving 500 gigawatts means building a cleaner, more sustainable energy system, while also modernizing the grid to handle new, variable power sources and ensure reliable electricity for all. But this transformation brings both exciting opportunities and complex challenges, from technical hurdles to social and economic impacts. As of late 2025, India's green vision faces a crucial test. New regulations designed to manage this transition are sparking heated debate among stakeholders. While the goal of a cleaner, greener future is widely supported, the path forward is contentious, with differing views on how best to achieve it. Proposed rules from energy regulators aim to bring more discipline and stability to the grid, but have raised serious concerns among the companies and innovators building this future. The key question remains, will these new regulations accelerate India's clean energy ambitions, or could they inadvertently slow the nation's green momentum at this critical juncture? Renewable energy has become a mainstream force in India's power sector, with solar and wind rapidly expanding. These sources are diversifying an energy mix long dominated by coal, reducing pollution and carbon emissions. Developing domestic renewables also boosts energy security, lessening reliance on volatile global fossil fuel markets. Every megawatt from sun or wind means less need for imported coal or oil, strengthening economic resilience and providing stable energy costs. However, renewables are variable. Solar depends on sunlight, wind on weather, making grid management more complex. Grid operators must balance this fluctuating supply with constant demand, a challenge that grows as renewables' share increases. This variability is the core issue the new regulations address. As green energy grows, grid stability becomes paramount. The government believes renewables must now share responsibility for reliability, forming the basis of the new rules. Central to the new regulations shaping India's power sector is the Deviation Settlement Mechanism, or DSM, a system designed to bring greater discipline and reliability to the grid. DSM establishes clear rules and financial penalties to ensure that power producers deliver the electricity they commit to, helping maintain grid stability and prevent unexpected shortfalls or surpluses. All generators, whether conventional or renewable, must forecast their output in advance. DSM then settles the difference between what was forecast and what is actually generated, holding producers accountable for accuracy. For coal or gas plants, this process is relatively straightforward. They can adjust and control their output as needed to match their forecasts. For renewables like wind and solar, however, forecasting is much more challenging, since sun and wind are inherently unpredictable and can change rapidly. The new rules, proposed in September 2025, significantly tighten DSM for renewables by narrowing the margin of error allowed, making it more important than ever for producers to improve their forecasting techniques. Previously, wind and solar generators were given wider tolerance bands, which encouraged rapid growth by acknowledging the natural variability of these resources and supporting their integration into the grid. Now, regulators argue that the renewable sector has matured, and it's time for these producers to meet higher standards and take on greater responsibility for grid reliability. The new framework gradually phases out special treatment for renewables, demanding much greater forecasting accuracy and accountability from all players in the sector. Stricter and more transparent formulas for calculating deviations and penalties are being introduced, making the financial consequences of errors more significant. This marks a fundamental shift in how green energy is integrated into India's grid, signaling a move toward a more mature and reliable energy market. The industry must now adapt to a new era of accountability, where precision and reliability are just as important as innovation and growth. The new regulations introduce a phased approach, starting April 2026, with gradually shrinking tolerance margins for forecasting errors. By 2031, renewables will be held to the same standards as coal and gas plants. This gives companies time to improve technology and forecasting before full enforcement. For example, a solar farm's allowed deviation might drop from 15% to 10% over several years, increasing financial risk for inaccuracies. The goal is to push the industry toward operational excellence without causing sudden disruption. Regulators see this as a logical step. If renewables are to be the backbone of the grid, they must be as reliable as conventional sources. Each tightening of the rules incentivizes investment in better forecasting and control systems. The gradual approach is meant to guide the sector's maturity. However, for many companies, this feels like a slow squeeze on their financial viability. The industry faces mounting pressure to adapt or risk being left behind. The government's main goal is grid stability, balancing supply and demand in real time to prevent blackouts. This is a complex task that requires constant vigilance and rapid response to changing conditions across the entire power network. As renewables' share grows, maintaining this balance becomes more challenging. Solar and wind power are clean, but their output can change quickly and unpredictably, making it harder to keep the grid steady. The new rules are a direct response to the operational realities of a grid increasingly powered by variable sources. These regulations are designed to address the unique challenges that come with integrating renewables at scale. For example, sudden drops in solar or wind output force grid operators to scramble for backup power. Even a passing cloud or a lull in the wind can create immediate problems that must be solved in seconds. By requiring better forecasting, the government hopes to make these fluctuations more predictable and manageable. Improved weather models and data analysis are now essential tools for grid operators. Renewables are no longer outliers. They must be reliable, integrated parts of the system. This means working seamlessly alongside traditional power plants to ensure a steady flow of electricity. The government argues the industry has had time to grow and must now take responsibility for grid stability. It's a shift from early incentives to a new era of accountability and partnership. Improved forecasting also brings economic benefits, making the grid more efficient and reducing the need for costly backup plans. This efficiency can help utilities plan better and avoid unnecessary expenses. This can lower electricity costs for everyone, from large businesses to families at home, making clean energy more accessible. The government sees these requirements as a fair trade-off for renewables' growing role. As clean energy becomes mainstream, new standards are needed to keep the system strong. The aim: a cleaner, more reliable and cost-effective power system that benefits everyone and supports a sustainable future. Wind energy producers have been the most vocal critics of the new rules. They argue wind is far less predictable than solar, making accurate forecasting extremely difficult. Industry groups warn that penalties under the new DSM could slash revenues by nearly half for some projects, threatening financial viability. Older wind farms, built under more lenient regimes, lack modern forecasting tools and face disproportionate penalties. The industry says retroactively applying new rules to old projects is unfair and could lead to defaults. Legal challenges have already been mounted, with wind producers arguing the changes impose unsustainable burdens. The sector feels caught between unpredictable weather and strict regulation. They warn this could harm existing projects and deter future investment in wind power. The stakes are high for the future of wind energy in India. The solar industry is also uneasy about the new rules. While solar is more predictable than wind, sudden weather changes can still cause unexpected drops in output. With already razor-thin profit margins, new penalties could make many solar projects unviable. This financial pressure threatens both existing projects and the ability to secure funding for new ones. Investors may demand higher tariffs or look elsewhere, slowing progress toward India's 500-gigawatt goal. The industry calls for a more balanced approach, suggesting solutions like ancillary markets or grid-scale storage. Solar producers want regulators to use a broader set of tools for grid stability, not just penalties. The sector fears rigid rules could undermine the very growth they're meant to support. The new regulations are casting a shadow over India's clean energy investment climate. India's renewable boom was built on supportive, predictable policies that attracted global capital. Now, Industry fears the shift toward stricter penalties could deter the investment needed for the 500-gigawatt target. Existing projects, especially older ones, face unexpected costs that could lead to defaults and stranded assets. For new projects, higher risks mean investors may demand higher tariffs, potentially reversing the trend of falling renewable costs. If risks are too high, some investors may simply stay away, slowing capacity growth. Regulators face a dilemma, ensuring grid stability without choking off investment. The industry warns that well-intentioned rules could end up slowing the energy transition. Striking the right balance is now more critical than ever. India's new green power rules mark a turning point in its clean energy journey. The regulations aim to ensure grid stability as renewables become dominant, demanding greater forecasting accuracy. But the deviation settlement mechanism's tightening penalties are a double-edged sword, pushing for reliability but threatening project viability. Concerns about shrinking revenues and investment chills are real, risking a slowdown in the energy transition. India's success is vital for global climate goals. Setbacks here have worldwide implications. The stakes are high. Collaboration and compromise are essential. Regulators and industry must find middle ground, balancing grid discipline with a healthy investment climate. Solutions could include support for forecasting tech, alternative mechanisms, or differentiated rules for older projects. The coming months will decide if these rules drive a robust green energy system or become an obstacle. The world is watching India's next move.